The right music. I get my lights adjusted here. All right. Welcome everybody. A few minutes earlier tonight. I'm trying to make some adjustments here with my lights before I get started. Here. Yes, looking good. Um, really weird with the notification tonight. For some reason, I set it for tonight at this time, but it ended up putting me somewhere in January. So I don't know if anybody's going to show up or not tonight. But I certainly have a lot to say anyway, so it's good to be here as always. Um, let's see. This week, what's going on? No, it's saying here that it is live up. Okay, that's good. The notification did come up. It's weird. With YouTube, you really never know sometimes with their software what's going to happen. I'm amazed so far. I've had some minor problems. But so far, my setup here seems to be working pretty good. Let me adjust my light here. Yeah, there we go. That looks good. All right. Again, welcome to Sunday at Mike's. And we are here on this Sunday evening to talk about a wide variety of subjects. I usually get started with things that happen with me equipment wise in the course of the week. And I guess I'll start off with another trade that I did. Let's see here. Let's look at my notes here. Yeah, I'll start off with a trade that I did that is in the process of going on this week. As you know, I covered my pedal board this week in my live show, and I thought that it would be an interesting subject to talk about my approach to a pedal board, mostly looking for different varieties of amps. Um, Not a lot of tremolo or a lot of chorus or things like that. I never really like that kind of stuff. I always like the clean signal. And really with this pedal board, I got a great Fender emulation going that I have to say that I like a great deal. Coupled with the HOF, the Hall of Fame, and the spring reverb, just a light spring reverb. My goodness gracious, it sounds great. And a lot easier to have than the real thing. As you know, I had a Fender Deluxe here in the studio that Fern loaned me, and my goodness gracious, that thing weighed a ton and a half. And so I then also on my pedal had to have some sort of Vox AC15 emulation. In this case, what I ended up with here is actually rare Series 7 pedal that's based on the Series 7 Vox amps that actually didn't do very well. They actually made it to a couple of really big records, like a Led Zeppelin 2, but like Heartbreaker, I think. Yeah, it was on that, something like that. But it really captures that sound, so it fills that hole. The next pedal that I have is my AYA Tokyo pedal. Now, with that pedal, oddly enough, I wanted to fill that slot with the obvious choice would be a Marshall sounding pedal, an amp and a box pedal. And the AYA overdrive that I have is based on a Marshall stack. And I do like it. It does a good Marshall sound. There's more thickness to the Vox pedal that I have as opposed to the AYA Tokyo with its Marshall stack tone to it, but really, I just I like that. It's funny. It's a boutique pedal. It's a wired pedal, handmade by Taruki. In He has his company in Tokyo, AYA Pedals, and I've had it for a long time, and I keep putting it on my pedal board, and it stays there for a minute, and then it kind of disappears. So it never stays for very long, which is kind of the weird thing. It's a great sounding pedal. Don't get me wrong. I'll never let it go because, like I've said before, it was a prototype that I was able to get my hands on. But I just haven't found a pedal board or something that works really. I haven't used it even for any recordings. So I am in the process of trading a couple of pedals that I have. As you know, I've got a few pedals here laying around. So I'm trading a couple of pedals, not the AYA Tokyo, because as I said, I like that one. But I'm trading a couple of them for the JHS Charlie Brown version 4. And hold on here, guys. Let me set this up so I can. Yeah, there we go. That works. I'm just setting it up so I can see the chat here. I think I found a system that works. Finally. I'm settled on the JHX Charlie Brown version 4. There are a lot of Marshall amp in a box pedals out there that are to be had. And certainly some of the top ones in my book that I know are pretty exceptional are the Exotic SL Drive, for example. That has a fantastic Marshall tone to it, and the fact that it has dip switches inside on the back that you can switch between a super lead sound or a basement sound. And so that makes it pretty cool for its flexibility in that regard, and just the tones that come out of it. I wrote a few of them down. What's another one? Yeah, the Jeter Helium. The Jeter Helium. I don't know if it's Jeter or Jeter. Jeter Helium. The Helium is a pedal that, yeah, I'm kind of digging. It's known as again, a transparent overdrive or a light overdrive pedal. But when you kick it in, it does a really good JTM 45 tone, I believe I saw a YouTube video earlier this year that Rhett Shaw had done on his channel where he had done a kind of comparison with amp in a box Marshall type tone pedals. And the Helium ended up being a big winner. And I thought to myself, okay, I like the sound of that. I'm completely happy with the sound of my Fender tone that I'm getting out of the F1 over here, the Legends amp, for recording. Honestly, seriously, great tone. The Vox pedal emulation that I have amp in a box is the true circuit from that same amp. Tommy took a look at that Vox Series 7 amp and he duplicated. It was a solid state amp. It did have a tube. It was a solid state preamp with a tube power amp section. So the solid state preamp, he copied it here, and that's exactly what this pedal is. And it's a very distinctive sound. Good rock and roll, heavy tone, but it's not something that I would use as much as a Marshall tone. So yeah, that Charlie Brown by JHS pedals really caught my eye, as well as that Jeter. Over here in Europe, the Jeter is very hard to come by. That is a handmade pedal from the States, I believe in the Georgia area. So not a lot of them float by here. And actually, JHS pedals there's a lot more of them here in Europe. especially here in Holland and the Netherlands, than I thought. So those are easy to be had. So I'm able to do a swap for a couple of pedals for that one. So that will be coming in this week. I'm pretty excited. I'm again, like I said, um, I like if you buy quality pedals from the get go, try to avoid the cheap ones as much as possible. As I said last week, you'll find that you can swap for things, and then when you make that kind of swap, you can the pedal that you give you can swap up with something else nice to something bigger. It's kind of hopscotch, and if you want to play that game, but it's a good way to improve your overall quality of your setup. Pedals are something that you want to invest in the most money, I believe, that you can in. So, swapping pedals, swapping up is a great way to do it. I've been doing it for a little while now here, and I'm kind of digging it. Like I said, it's working out for me. It's really got me some great deals. And I gotten rid of a lot of stuff that was just sitting around gathering dust as well, even more importantly. Because I'm really trying to minimalize the things, scale things down quite a bit here in my old age. I'm getting really down to the nitty gritty what I need. And yeah, so that Charlie Brown, man, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to sound great. You can never tell with YouTube videos. I was watching reading the comment section the other day for the Charlie Brown pedal, exactly because I was trying to get an idea, just to get a little bit more information. I really researched this stuff before I buy it or make a swap. And one guy said, "Well, I don't know if this pedal is good or not because you're running it through, you got a high quality guitar like a Gibson Les Paul. I think he used three guitars, a Gibson, a Strat, and a Telecaster, and Fenders and Gibsons, and a really nice amp." And the guy in the comment section made a good point. He said, I don't know if this pedal is any good or not because you're using quality, gear. You've got a very expensive amp and very expensive guitars. The average bedroom player is only really going to have average equipment, and how's it going to sound with that? Or in some cases, even worse than that. So he had a great point. I really like that because this is also the reason why I don't do a lot of sound demos on my channel either, because YouTube compression, my rig, your rig, no rig, I think the proof is in the pudding, so that's why I try to play more of the finished work that I do using the equipment that I have, so you can hear how it sounds in a professional, context, a finished piece of music. I think that's a better thing to know if it's something that is good enough to sound good, or what you think is good enough to sound wise. All of those other kind of sound demos, where there's a lot of them are great and helpful, but again, it's not your rig, and you're really not in your guitar, so you're not really gonna know. So there's that. But from what I did discover about that Charlie Brown pedal, I did dig what I read about it. I didn't read a bad thing about it. It got stunning reviews. From the, what you can gather from take what you can YouTube videos, it seemed like something that worked for me. So yeah, it's on its way this week. I hopefully will be seeing it here behind me on my pedal board this week. And again, that's a JTM 45, sounding pedal. And so hopefully it'll fill that last slot on my pedal board, and that'll be it. Again, this week in my this week in my regular show, I talked about this pedal board here behind me, and a tone question how long it took in order to put something like this together. And, honestly, seriously, going through pedals, and because, again, one man's meat is another man's, bone. And some pedals I try to just, my gosh, so many pedals I went through. which is why I need to get rid of a lot of them that I don't use now. They just you go through and you discover the ones that work for your rig and what you're trying to do, and and of course it's expensive. What you try to do is scour. I was lucky, so I was mostly in Southeast Asia. So I was able to go to a lot of, small mom and pop shops. Those still exist in Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar. No, no, not Myanmar. I forget right now. Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and of course Japan. So you try to go to secondhand shops and things of that nature, Singapore as well, and dig for pedals. And so I was lucky. I was able to get a lot of great deals on secondhand and things like that, which were in great condition because they treat their pedals a lot better than most folks. Some of the pedals that I saw in some of the shops here, I was like, it's a little too used. It's been relic pedals. That'll be the next thing. Boss will start coming out with a relic pedal line. Yeah, it'd be mostly returns. Um, yeah, dig that. You know, just tone search again, looking into it, and a lot of really good things I heard about it. So I'm hoping that it works out for me. I'm looking forward to it coming through. Hey there. Hope all is well with you. Welcome. Thank you. At an odd hour tonight, but we're rolling with it. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, the other subject I want to talk about before I get into the main subject was my 40th anniversary telly. Just to give an update because some people were interested in what I've been doing with that. Tomorrow, it will be finally going to my luthier, Fern. You guys know about Fern if you're familiar with this channel. Yeah, there are some questions as to whether they said that guitar has a bone nut. But if you flow through some of the different website descriptions, including Fender's, it'll say a synthetic, once or twice it'll say a synthetic bone nut, which to me sounds a little bit more on the nose. I found it hard to believe because a decent bone nut, to be honest with you, that's a $25 kind of deal for a real good quality one. And I guess if they got an excess, I said, well, they must have a lot of bones laying around in Indonesia. But I thought to myself that it having a bone nut was a great, but very, curious kind of thing. So I investigated, dug a little deeper, and I'm not so sure. The jury's still out on that. So I'm going to have Fern take a look at it. He'll know because he makes it. And if it turns out to be a true bone nut, then we will roll with it. If it is a synthetic bone nut, then it will absolutely get itself 86. It'll get itself tossed. And so that's what we'll do with Fern. The other thing is swapping those saddles out for brass. Right now they're stainless steel, and there really is a tonal difference that you'll find with the saddles. I'm talking about those little metal bits down on the bridge section of a Telecaster. Those are the saddles. Between using steel saddles and using brass saddles, there really is a tonal difference there. I believe that because of its location, the neck pickup on a Telecaster, they can inherently be kind of muddy. And so one of the things that brass saddles does, again, in my opinion, from my experience of playing Telecasters for a long time, is it brightens that neck pickup up. That brass, of course, it's a different, metal. So it's going to have a different tonal quality to it. Like, that's why there's a lot of brass bells. They have a high pitch kind of ring to them. And when that string makes contact with that saddle and transfers that vibration to it, it's going to have a certain tonal quality to it that transfers up to that neck pickup, and just it'll brighten up. I mean, it's not going to be a miracle worker if you got a crappy neck pickup. Unfortunately, like I do in my guitar, there's nothing that can be done that's going to really help that. That's going to have to be swapped out. But if you have a somewhat muddy neck pickup, but you're kind of happy with it, and you don't have brass saddles on your Telecaster, then that's certainly a way to brighten up. And even played acoustically, it gives it a little bit more of a spark, an upper mids, I guess you could say, kind of a thing to it. Yeah. Upper, not like that. Yeah, something in there. It just gives a sparkle. So yeah, I'm gonna do that, and thankfully, Mickey here that joins us here in the chat. So I don't know where he's at. Hopefully, he'll show up here this evening. Was kind enough to offer to send me Telecaster neck pickup that he just had laying around, and I was just blown away. I literally was in the process of contacting this guy named Tiho, who has a shop in Croatia. I've talked about them before, Q Pickups, and was just about to message him and say, what's I'd like to get this kind of pickup with this kind of wine, a little bit hotter because it's a neck pickup. And that same day, Mickey was kind enough to make that offer to me, so that was kind of sweet. So yeah, so that will resolve that neck pickup issue. I appreciate it. It's really a kind thing that Mickey did, and it's touching. When I read that, I was blown away. It's just the kindness of the community here, and the good people that I have found in joining here in this YouTube community is just mind-numbingly awesome. I have just met some of the nicest folks you can imagine. It's weird. I don't get a lot of negativity. I got a lot more negative stuff on my YouTube channel when I first got started. And oddly enough, it was from friends and family associates. The knife, stings a little more when it's stabbed in you by a friend or an associate or associates. And there's one guy who he couldn't write in and say, "Hey, congratulations on starting your channel." He had to nitpick on a minor statement that I made. It's like, but that stopped. That went away. I haven't gotten I haven't gotten any negativity. Of course, maybe next week I'll print out. Because I get my comment section fed to me via my YouTube studio, where every comment as they come in, that's how I'm able to reply. And they're coming on videos that I did 2 years ago, And so it's interesting. And even with those, I do reply back as well, because those are people who are new in and they have a legitimate question about something. Even if I said it 2 years ago, I'm like, okay. Let me give this person a response. I really do try to legitimately answer every comment or read every comment, at least give a thumbs up that comes in. And, I would say that the negativity is like 2%, maybe, not even that. It's very low. And so, and I am very pleased and very happy to be a part of this community and the kindness of guys like Mickey doing that. So that's awesome. So that would be going to Fern. I am going to have Fern take a look at the electronics, the pots, the wiring, the caps, and to determine, in his opinion, as to the quality of them. As it stands right now, I'm not having any issues with them, but you know, I'm seriously going to use that guitar for recording. I'm serious that guitar. You know what it is about that guitar? It reminds me of the Japanese Telecasters from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. It feels like that when I hold it and that was the guitar that I replaced it with was a 90, 92, 90, yeah, Fender Telecaster, Japan. And the neck, everything, it feels, really comfortable. And those guitars are known for their quality. And and these Squires, this 40th anniversary I have is no different. So that's another thing that it came to me as I was playing it the other day. I was like, wow, this feels like that Fender I had that I just replaced this with. That's what it was no difference. And that one is a light guitar as well. So yeah, the pots, the caps, the all that. The wiring. He's going to take a look at that, see if it needs to be replaced. If not, Fern's very fair. Fern, that's why I love Fern. He's the kind of guy. He's very pragmatic. Dutch are very pragmatic, as I told you, extremely, and I count on that because I am the temperament sometimes. Just rip it out and replace. Just rip it out, replace it, but. Fern will say, no, wait a minute, these are okay. And he'll go through and he'll say, of the gradings, it's about here on this grade, but I don't feel in 5 years you're going to be replacing them any more than if you go up to this grade. He'll do that. He'll say, so leave it alone. Or sometimes he'll say, yeah, they're complete crap. And the wiring too. He'll just rewire it. And I'm fine with either way, actually, because if he says it's all good, then it's all good. I'll let it ride. If he says let's do it, then I'm prepared for that as well. So we'll see what he says on that. Yeah, so we'll see about that synthetic bone nut, if it's a really bone nut or not. If not, that's going to go. So those are minor things. Actually for me, those are minor modifications. We got the nut maybe changed. The wiring may be changed, so those could possibly stay the same. The net pickup and the saddles are really the two definite replacement things that I feel that guitar needs. So there's that update on that guitar. Yeah, so tonight's subject. What did I do here? Could it be that the guitar fund money is drying up? Could it be that the guitar fund money is drying up? Yeah, I got my notes here. Then, as I go through the course of a week, I come up with different topics and things that I like to talk about with you guys here on the live stream. And really, one of the subjects that kept, as I've said before, I keep an eye on, like the gear page, Les Paul page, different forums that I go through and I read, as well as, the business news that I read through the course of other things that I study. And, one of the things that I'm curious about always, and that we talk about quite often on this channel, is where is the guitar market going? Trying to get a crystal ball and take a look down into the future and kind of see where things are lying in terms of the guitar market. Because let's be honest, we all suffer from gas, and there's always going to be something in when I say guitar market, I'm talking about amps and pedals and basses, and other equipment, things of that nature. But yeah, there's always going to be a need to say, is this a time to pull the trigger or not? And one of the things that I'd like to provide during these live streams and talk, I talk about this, every so often, is just to keep you up to date on my thoughts, my crystal ball kind of thoughts on where we're going with the market. And so tonight's subject, could it be that the guitar fund money is drying up? Now, fund money, when things are good, of course, uh, people have a tendency to spend more. They have more discretionary income, things to spend money on. That's just the way economic cycles go. And when the obverse happens, like right now, discretionary income goes out the door, and you really start taking a hard look at what it is you're going forward with in the future. And uh, I find it funny. It's kind of it's like watching a train wreck act with me. It's like you don't want, it's not a train wreck, not in the literal sense, but it's like watching one of those old disaster movies like the Poseidon Adventure or Earthquake. Those old movies. I don't know if you guys ever saw those, because those were the big kind of major blockbuster movies back in the mid 70s. But it's kind of like watching those. It's fascinating just to watch the spectacle of it all, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the spectacle of watching what's going on in the markets when it comes to buying equipment is fascinating. I do it, of course, because I have a YouTube channel, and questions and things come up in regards to what's going on, what my opinion is on what's going on in the market from my experience. And also, just on a personal level, because I want to try to position myself, if there's something that's out there that I see that might be worth spending the money on trying to to get while the getting is good, so to speak, because of things that I see that are going to come up in the future that'll drive the price of that up, but make it pretty unattainable for other factors that are going on in normal life. Gas bills, electricity bills, things like that cut into everybody's budgets, and this year is a doozy. So inflation, I call that the kryptonite to gas. Superman has his green kryptonite that takes him down. Inflation is kryptonite. Hey, greetings. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, man, dig that. Inflation is the kryptonite. Hello. From Brazil, so sweet. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for showing up. Good to have you. Well, you're stuck with us now. I always say that, but I mean it. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, man, inflation is the kryptonite. What do I mean by inflation is the kryptonite to gas? Now, gas is gear acquisition syndrome. We all have it. Any musician suffers it from a different degree. There are recovering gas addicts. There are pending gas addicts. And then there's guys like me who, try to control, their gas as much as possible, not to let it, overwhelm you. And inflation, certainly, and all the things that comes with it, certainly, first of all, your real wages really dropping and dipping. The impact that inflation has on the prices of guitars, and the rush in the used market for people to sell because of inflationary pressures, and the rush for retailers to do the same for the same reasons. And, so the spectacle of all of this unraveling, pretty much, well, the way that, we've been discussing here on this channel. And this is worldwide. This is worldwide that we're seeing unfold here is a spectacle. And it's one that if you look at wisely, if you play your cards right, you can benefit from. There are benefits to be had from this kind of situation. Inflation. I saw a guitar that I've been interested in, the FGN 335 copy. In June, when I first took a look at it at a shop here down the street, it was going for 1,899 euros. And I figured, well, if I made him a cash offer, I could probably get it for 17. Now, as of this month right now, it is going for 23.99. So a 400 euro increase on that. I've never. What do you make of those guys who just have guess all ever keep the same bullet go for 40 years? Because let me see what actually I'll read that one a little bit later, a little bit more. I think I get the gist of what you were asking. Really, gas, like I said, affects everybody different. There's different scales to it, and but regardless of what scale and what type of cat you are within that, you're pretty much well screwed. We're all screwed. What I'm trying to do is try to help you out. I'm like that. I'm like that guy in the movies or on TV at the addicts with recovery meeting that walks around the classroom and says, "Bob, it's your turn to tell us how you feel." Well, I think that I'm kind of trying to give a little counseling here. At the same time, you guys are helping me with mine because you'll give me feedback and say, "Hey, Mike, that's smart. That sounds like a great idea," and that helps me. So we're sort of a gas anonymous kind of live stream forum we have every Sunday night here. And but really, that $400 increase on that guitar cured my desire to have that guitar real quick, because the resale value on that guitar is about $1,650 that you can expect to get, and that's what somebody's asking. I doubt seriously that they'll get that, and that leads to my next thing. As I roll my case out here to you guys tonight, that just started playing again after 30 years, looking around. I only see 6 stars, well, more bases at the moment, but only 4. Well, again, we talk about the number of guitars. How many guitars is enough guitars? And really, you only need one. And we all know that that's the reality. What you would do in the perfect world, what you would do is you would find that one guitar that covers as many bases as possible. The quote unquote desert island guitar. I am a strong believer that the Fender Telecaster, the Squier Telecasters, or any Telecaster shaped guitar, a configuration guitar for that matter, is the desert island guitar for me. And I think that it is the best all-around guitar because you can play a lot of styles with it. You can cover a lot of bases with the Telecaster. So really, I only need a Telecaster, but I've got a Les Paul and I've got an SG, and I've got an acoustic guitar and I got a bass guitar, and you start building up, and you say to yourself, you got to say to yourself at some point, I only needed one. Which one am I playing the most? Which ones am I not playing the most? Which do I grab? When I go to reach, for one of these instruments, what's the one that I really gravitate towards? And that's really your keeper. The other ones you could really honestly let them go. You could trade them up and get another guitar, and that one may become your keeper. But you're, at least you're trading in things and you're stepping up the ladder. So that's one good positive way of dealing with gas, I think. But yeah, that kind of increase really discouraged me from that guitar. I have no interest in it now. And I think that disparity between not just the price increase, and by the way, I've never seen, once guitars go up in price, I've never seen them go down again. I've never seen Gibson say, "Hey, you know what? We were wrong about that 27.99 pricing. We're going to drop it right back down to the low price of 20, whatever it was a couple of years ago, 2,200." It'll never happen. It just goes up and up and up. And that just creates, because they're selling less, so they have to drive up the price of the ones that they are selling in order to justify, to make up that gap that exists there in their sales. And to the point where it just breaks. At some point, the levee breaks, to quote a little Led Zeppelin there. And eventually that levee will break. And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing. There's a glut of guitars. Barry Witt, who I will be interviewing sometime in the coming weeks, he's been kind enough to offer to come down to his shop. Boy, you guys are in for a treat. Stick around for that when we go down to Dirk Witt Music and look at that guitar shop. We'll really go through it, and we'll take a look at some awesome guitars, guys. Stick around for that. You're good. If hopefully, he'll still have some of the controversial Epiphones around. We'll take a closer look at them. But with him saying that he has a glut, that the manufacturers have a glut, the fact that on the used markets, you're not seeing a lot of movement, and you're seeing a lot of price reductions. I myself did a price reduction on something, and it just sold today, but I had to bring its price down to, there's just some cats who want to use that pandemic pricing. They're like, damn it, that's what I bought it for during the pandemic, and that's what I'm going to sell it for now. But guess what, buddy? That was a seller's market. This is not. This is a buyer's market. That coin has flipped. That evolution has happened. But you just have those guys. But one by one, if you go on something like Reverb or eBay or some of the other sites, there's not that many, but the normal spots, and look at people's pricings, they're dropping. They're doing, they're starting to discount. And retailers would do the same thing. But with those holdouts, you're seeing situations where there are people selling things used that you can buy for cheaper new. And and that's because the retailers, again, even though their margins are going to keep dipping and dipping, because they're just going to have to start discounting. They have too much product. It's a vicious cycle where those guys who are expecting typically their usual, I'll say 70 to 85% return on something that they bought, a reasonable return being 85%, a good return on a used good. They're actually starting to see those returns to be between 50 to 70%. So that's ouch. Especially like I said, if you're trying to sell items that you bought during the pandemic, that's gotta suck, because that pricing was what it was, and it shall not come back again for a while. So nothing is getting cheaper. Nothing is getting, just in that regard. And of course, with inflation and the value of currencies against these goods in those markets, the retailers, they're just going to have to keep fighting that by this yo-yo of cutting and jacking up the price and then having to do these steep discounts. And that's even if the consumer is interested, which I don't. As I'm trying to say here tonight, I don't think so. I don't know how you guys feel on your end. You just said share with us that you were looking around at the guitars that you've had for a while. You started buying again. Would you continue to buy? I don't know. You just kind of look around the room and say, you know what? As I say here on the channel quite often, I'm good. I'm happy with what I got. I'm actually really happy with what I got. I seriously, when the price went up $400 on that FGN guitar, which would have made it the most expensive guitar that I have currently, if I bought it. It just didn't attract it. The bass I'm asking on has been on pre-order for 2 years. I'm in August due production. That doesn't happen. Used there at one. Yeah, yeah. That's an issue too, to put something on order and the delays because of the production chain, supply chain. Yeah, man, that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. But yeah, I admire that. To be able to hold out that long. But when you get it and it's yours, that must be an awesome feeling. I sure would like to experience that myself, especially after a long wait like that. That's admirable. But yeah, guys, but still, the used market on some things, they will outstrip the price on, especially in the case of something like that bass that are on pre-order, like the King of Tone. King of Tone, you can get that for $400 or $500 if you order it, but it's a 4 or 5 year waiting list. And then, of course, the used market, as a result of that, those things are going for $850, $900, $1,000, double. So yeah, there's situations like that where but in the general, but that's a kind of a niche thing too. Actually, to be honest with you, that's one of those pedals that just has a status on it. It just says it's Klon, the Marshall Blues Breaker pedal that I traded for my Telecaster. Pedals like that, those are always going to have a value to them because they have a mythical status. They have that mojo to them, like a 59 or 60s Les Paul or 65 Strat, So yeah, dig that, if you will. So just like I guess to sum it all up going forward, again, I don't see any reason for me not to continue to say it's a buyer's market. If you have the funds in order to pull the trigger, especially with Christmas coming up, and the guitar market is funny. Somebody was asking me, well, do you buy them on credit, or do you make payments on them? No, I've never bought a guitar on credit. I paid. In this guy, last one I swapped a pedal for, expensive pedal, but I did swap. I've always paid cash, for my guitars full price. I've never actually bought a guitar on credit. So I think most people are that way. Unless, again, it's yeah, I think most musicians are that way. So we're a funny market. And in that regard, I think we're inflation proof, because even the brokest, but think about it. Think about your brokest buddy musician. Boy, I could think of several guys that I know growing up with that fit that description. But somehow or another, they always seem to, they didn't have enough money for gas, but they always had enough money for gas, if you know what I mean. And they'd always show up with something like, how did you get that? Well, I did this and I did that. Oh, okay. That's a nice guitar. That's a nice pedal. That's interesting. Seeing last week you didn't pay your rent. But so in that regard, I guess, human nature side of that, again, people are still going to try to make their moves, but they're going to be a lot more cautious about it. and they're not going to be as many. So if you got cash, just wait this one out. Wait it out a couple of months still. It's like fishing. That first nibble, you don't want to pull that hook too quick. You want to make sure you got a firm tug going on your line. And I think that going into January, February, and it's a sad thing because it's going to mean a lot of negative things too in that regard. But I think going into January and February, if Christmas time certainly, obviously, coming up is a factor. If you can get past the Christmas thing and just say, hey, I tell you what, I'll give you your gift, or to yourself in January, February, I think you're really going to find a lot of great deals, not just in the used market, because a lot of those COVID, the pandemic guys on Reverb, they're going to capitulate, and their prices are going to fall as well, and it's going to be a free fall. It's going to be the wild wild west, and everything is going to be everywhere, but cash is king, and this really, like I said, the guitar market kind of is a cash market. It kind of really is. When I went to Vinendal to this, vintage guitar fair recently, that was a cash market. It really was. Oh, of course there was machines, but if you had the cash on hand, that was the preferred thing to go, and you could get a discount on cash. So a big discount in a lot of cases. So yeah, the guitar market still is, Reverb aside. But on the one-to-one local level, it's still a cash kind of thing. So it's not going to die. It's not going to. I'm not saying that the guitar market's going to implode, but what I am saying is that there's economic pressures on both sellers, consumers, and manufacturers and retailers, of course, in the downside of that chain, down the line on that chain, that is going to make it very interesting for you if you can hold out to obtain maybe something that you want. It's a tough one when you're talking about the gear in the 1,000. I'll even say the 1,500 and below range. Yeah, you're going to see discounts for sure. When you're talking above that, it's really going to depend. It's going to be right place, right time, and having the cash on hand to quickly to be able to make that kind of score. So yeah, that's how it's going forward. Just in my opinion, and that leads into my my last conversation. Boy, I'm just a puddle of joy tonight. Is talking about the future of amplifiers. I was talking to another cat, a friend of mine, who I've made here. He is a amp guy and a pedal guy, a repair guy. He's who, I take all of my hardware to. Fern is my luthier for my guitars, and Gills, boy, this is a hard name to pronounce. Gills is my guy to take my hardware to. He's the one who repaired my Echoplex. And just in conversation with him, and he was talking about tube amps. And we were both shooting back and forth the future of tube amps and where we thought that was going. And it kind of falls in line with what we were just discussing in the broader market, the broader guitar equipment, that the more expensive things are just going to get more and more expensive, and they're really just going to become exclusive to the people who have the wealth in order to obtain them by whatever collectors trading or wealthy people just out and out purchasing. So yeah, you're not going to see, like I say, going back to Les Paul's, the USA Standard. You're not going to see those ever go down in price. They're just going to go up, up, and up, and up. Again, and the last point on the last discussion that I'll add is that if you're holding out, see, this is the paradox that going down the line future, people will be asking for cheaper things, but the dollars that you hold will be worth less. So it's kind of a race for time. That value is going. I mean, you're chasing something there, and you know, a purchase, regardless that you make this year, is going to be cheaper than next year. If you think that the prices on Squires now are out the roof with these 40th anniversaries, Mickey, sorry, we start. Mickey, I'm so glad you made it. We started the program a little earlier tonight, trying just for tonight. Next week, we'll go back to everybody should be in sync by all over the world, the different countries that this live goes to by next Sunday. So it'll start again at 11, I will say, guys. But yeah, the pricing, on those kind of things, I guess it was what I'm trying to say. You're chasing something that's just going to keep going up and up. So if you're going to make a purchase on something, you got to keep that in mind now on the high ticket items. The high ticket items, they're not going to be cheap. They're not. They're never going to be more cheaper than they are now. And yeah, you can find deals on some of them, right place for time. But in general, high ticket items next year are going to be more expensive. And like I said, if you think that those Squires, even the Squires, the 40th anniversaries the prices are expensive, wait till you see what they're worth, the value of new Squires next year. Guarantee you they're going to be $50, maybe even more. And that's just the way things are right now, It is a worrying early sign of hyperinflation, guys. I will say, I've never said that before. I'll throw that little nugget out there for you to dig a little deeper into. What do I mean by that? But from an economic standpoint, analysis standpoint, it's disconcerting to say the least. But yeah, keep that in mind too. High ticket items now. If you're gonna make that, you're gonna pull the trigger on that. It's never now is the time to do that, and that's just a fact. So there's that. But nobody, I think, Unfortunately, I'm good. Yeah, Mickey. Oh, Mickey, I was telling we did an update earlier in the show. I was telling everybody how touched and how just awesome it is for you to offer. I was telling folks we were talking about the guitar in general, and I mentioned the pickup that you offer. Thank you so much, brother. I was talking about how beautiful of a community we have here. And for you to make that offer, man, that's awesome. I'll let you know when it comes in. Fern has been alerted that it is on its way. We're both very curious. We're like, wow, that's awesome. So thank you, Mickey. I did share that earlier, just to bring you up to date on that. Thank you. I don't know if you want to keep that private or not, but it's just too awesome of a thing not to share with people that you were kind enough to make that offer. In any case, yeah, guys, keep that in mind. Keep in mind that. Thanks, Mickey. Keep in mind those things that and high ticket items, but they're not going to be any cheaper. So that's something you want to keep in consideration as well. And with amps, it's the same thing. I was talking to my friend, as I said, Gives about amps, and he feels that tube amps are soon going to be out of the reach of the average person. If the average consumer is going to get the point to point, maybe, and just, they're going to have to get whatever they can get. And I'm starting to agree with them. I think that tube amps really are just like that as well. If you're thinking about getting a tube amp, you're talking about, a Fender Deluxe or something in that realm. I really think that that's also another item that this is the time to take a look into really pulling the trigger on, because he feels that the value of those are just going to skyrocket even more than guitars. And even in the amp department, again, I'm good. I don't see me needing to buy any amps. I'm setting up a pedal based amp system here, as I've said, and so that's not something that I'd be interested in. But there's a surprising a lot of cats out there that are watching right now that would dig to do or have or add to their amp collection. And that's just another item that I think you should pull the trigger on right now. I would go for it. I would totally go for it because they're not going to be any cheaper going forward for sure. Yeah, guys, it's interesting times that we're in. It's just like it's kind of wild, wild west. I like to say, and I did order myself a new pedal today. Anderson's blowing up the tone. Great coach. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, you missed it, man. I'm trading myself. Again, early in the broadcast, I was talking about. Let's bring it up again because it's worth mentioning. I'm doing another trade where I'm trading two pedals. My Vintage Tube Monster, which, by the way, guys, is a fantastic pedal. I actually used it on my record on one of the recordings. I used the one I played for you last week. The chords, the rhythm guitar. It was the Vintage Tube Monster going through the Marshall Bluesbreaker pedal. Wow, really killer sound. Especially when you do replace and put in a true vintage tube in it. It has a great tone, but again, it's a little noisy and a little too gainy, and it's just something that it's a great pedal. Don't need it. Plus, it's huge. The thing is like the size of a bread box. it wouldn't just take up my. It would be my pedal board. It's sitting here right behind me, over my shoulder here. I got it here behind me. The thing is huge. And yeah, so I'm trading that in, and I'm trading in the Mooer Shimver. Once I got this FOH back here behind me, the HOH Hoff, the Hall of Fame pedal, my search for reverb is done. I'm very satisfied with this one. And so I really don't need to have that additional reverb pedal around. So I'm trading those two in for a Charlie Brown, JHS Charlie Brown version 4. So yeah, pretty stoked about that. Stoked about you putting in an order for getting that pedal. Pedals and stuff like that, those are good investments. Like I said, I'll invest in pedals all day long, and I don't mind trading those two pedals, which I consider a trade up to get that JHS. Because that Charlie Brown is a well-known pedal, and I'm very curious to hear how that JTM 45 tone sounds on it. And Mickey, I'd be very curious to hear the sound, how you feel about the sound of your pedal when you get it. If that comes in this week, let us know next week how it sounds. Yeah, man, dig that. It's crazy, this world that we're in right now, this situation. And in the guitar market, the things that we're seeing reflect that. It's wild, man. I'm really shocked. Like I said, I spent a lot of time on that Charlie Brown is awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. The version 4, not the original one, but the version 4, I can't wait. It's going to take the place of this AYA Tokyo. This is an overdrive pedal that's based also on a Marshall stack. And so it's going to replace that as my Marshall in a box pedal. The Bluesbreaker, you guys would think, well, you had a Marshall Bluesbreaker. How come you didn't keep that? How come that wasn't your Marshall in a box? Because the Bluesbreaker, for all that it does, that transparent lift that it does give you, it has the worst output in the world. When you crank that volume all the way up, it gets to be a little noisy too. That is the major drawback of that. And that was the drawback on that Boss 65 reverb that I had here for a hot minute, that I traded the Hall of Fame for. The output on that pedal was terrible. It was really low. It was very hard to get a lot of output out of that, so it just didn't work. So yeah, the Bluesbreaker had to go. And this AYA, don't get me wrong, as I was saying earlier, it's a beautiful pedal. But I think the Bluesbreaker is a great pedal, but it's a one trick guy. It honestly is, Mickey. You're right. I will say that it is a one trick pony, and I think that's the reason why it got replaced on even John Mayo, who's the guy that everybody really got into that pedal because of. It's not on his board anymore. It's not, he replaced it with a Klon. He was choosing between the Klon and the Bluesbreaker, and for a period there, and he decided in the end that the Klon was the way to go. And I agree with him. I kept my Klon copy. The Bluesbreaker went. I'm actually looking at a high quality, a Centura. I'm actually looking, if you guys know anything about that Klon copy, that is the Klon copy to get. They're not expensive, 200, $30, $40. You can get them. That is the one, outside of having a real Klon, that is a good way to go. And I'm actually considering getting that one because I found that Klon bump is a lot better of a bump than the Marshall Bluesbreaker bump. There's just something about it. And that output, like I said, is terrible. So, but people dig that, and I got an awesome Telecaster out of it. I'm not mad, because I got I got more than what I pay. I get out of that. I still say to this day I got the better part of the deal, and I want to thank Barry for making that swap. But yeah, dig that, man. Pedals. You really want to investigate and look into them, and that's why I came to the conclusion that Charlie Brown. I think it's going to be an awesome JTM sounding 45 sound, and it should complete my pedal board. I'm done. I am so tired, guys, of going through pedals. I have to be honest with you. I am happy that I've got my Fender tone set. I don't see any need to I was considering getting that, we've been talking about it. What is it? That new pedal, God, what is it, guys? Help me out. The Dream 65 pedal. Yeah, the Dream 65 pedal. I was actually considering that for a minute, but with this setup, I don't see the need for it. If I sold these two pedals, I could get the Dream, I could get close enough to be able to get the Dream 65, but I just don't see the need for it. So I'm done. I'm not going to do that. I am always in the market for an amp in a box. So if one comes along, like the Charlie Brown, like I said, I'll give it a fly. I'll give it a shot. I am looking to replace that AYA Tokyo in that slot. I'm seriously looking at the Positive Grid. It does everything, including being recorded and embraced. Yeah, I dig that, man. The modelers, I totally understand that, because back when I was a kid, when me and my friend Drake and the other guys, we went in the studio to record, and it took and we weren't rich, and even at $15 an hour, you were spending a better part of 45 minutes to an hour just miking things and setting up. And I hated that. Miking amps, I learned how to do it, but it's a pain in the butt. And even now, miking amps, miking my combo amp to recording is something that I've decided I just don't want. I have all the mics I need in order to do it correctly. I just don't want to do it, This situation right here with this pedal amp, the pedal, based amp, situation really is the way to go for me. However, I do find that individual pedals and I was talking about this in my regular show this week, will give you more of your individual sound, who you are. The reason I went through so many pedals, this, that, and the other, is because I was tone searching. What does a Fender Deluxe? I had a real Fender Deluxe. I know what it sounds like, but what are the aspects of that tone that I'm looking for? And that was just for the Fender sound. I had to go through that with the Vox, and I had to go through that obviously here with the Marshall pedal in the box. So with each one of those, I was going through multiple pedals to try to find the tone that I heard that I wanted to record with and use for me. A modeler is going to be whatever's in it. You can add stuff to it. You can put IRs in some of them. You can do some of the things like that. But at the end of the day, you're not going to have an individual tone. Now, that may not be important to you. As a home enthusiast, that's the better way to go. From a more artistic standpoint, if you really want to do that rock thing, then pedals is really more better suited for that individual tone, because no two pedal boards that I've ever heard sound the same, but every Helix that I've ever plugged into sounded the same to me. And so there's that to consider, to take into consideration. Not saying that it's a written in stone kind of thing, because the modelers, like I said, that Dream 65 pedal, it sounds pretty interesting. Laney came out with their LA Studio amp head that has the Captor 10 built into it. So this tube amp, it's an all tube amp, but it's got, it's it for, you can take that, put it on your cabinet, plug it in, and you can do your live gigs, blasting 2x12, 1x12, 4x12, whatever. But you can also take that amp head into the studio, and using that, yeah, I'm pretty good looking at home practice. Yeah. So something like the LA guys, take a look at this. The LA, they're pricey. Now, you're talking about $1,000 amp head. However, you buy this thing and you're done, because it's a true tube amp head with Captor X technology built in it, which means that it has a built-in attenuator. It's got a built-in load box. You can come straight out of that. It's got built-in emulations in it. You can come straight out of that into your recorder, into your DAW. When I saw that blew me away, because, of course, you're limited to whether that tube amp Laney sound is. But I like the sound of Laney amps, as you guys know. And if it cleans up, if it's got really good cleans, but it takes pedals, because you can always add pedals to that as well if you want to change it. Any one of these pedals you can add up to a clean signal, and that would be a great way to go. Then you've got that tube amp, true tube amp tone going into your DAW without having to have a bunch of crap around. Has anyone mentioned this Adano slow pedal that's been launched this week? Yeah, no. And I saw that. Isn't that interesting how so many companies, it's like pedal week. Everybody and their mom literally is coming out with a new pedal in the last week or so. But Sedano, I had a Sedano pedal. I've had Sedano pedals before. Well, it was an emulation. It was the Legends Amp Sedano. So I'd be very curious to take that. What is it? The F3 or something, F2 or something like that. This is the F1. That was what was the F3. I'd like to take that new one, the Sedano one pedal that came out, and put it up against that Legends amp and see how they stack up against each other. That would be real interesting. I sold, that's another one that went. I traded that one in for something. Because, I forget what. Because something. Because interestingly enough, I didn't like the Sedano sound for what I was trying to do. I was like, yeah, this one is a little bit too. It was a great tone for metal. That would be awesome. But I don't do a lot of metal stuff. I haven't had a client say, I think that this commercial needs a more metal track to it. I haven't got that yet. That would be awesome. I'd like to give that a shot. So that won't win. But I'd like to stack the two of those up and see which one is the better way to go, because these Legend amp pedals, I gotta tell you guys, they are awesome. They are fantastic. With the auxiliary return and send on it, they actually act just like a true tube, like a true amp head would. I have the Hall of Fame going into the effects send and returns, built into the pedal there, and that's just awesome. That is a feature that I cannot sing the praises of enough to be able to do that. So, yeah, check it. Not all of them have that, but quite a few of them do. Yeah, it's a very 80s super driven Marshall tone. Yeah. Yeah, this AYA Tokyo pedal, this overdrive pedal, again is voiced similar. It's like an 80s stack, is 80s Marshall stack tone. And, a lot of people seek that. I think it's, because you're starting to get into the hair, the hair metal days, which was, an interesting sound. I, again, like I said, I am a child of my generation, so the late 60s, 70s Marshall sounds, which aren't a lot of gain. A lot of people think that you need a lot of gain, when you're recording too. I've heard a lot of recordings from people that, I really thought that they overdid it on the gain. Music tones and styles do seem to come in circles. Yeah. Like, just like vinyl is becoming more popular again. That's coming back around. But gain is something that you want to be careful with in your recordings. I like a light gain. And a JTM 45 is going to give you what I consider to be an appropriate amount of gain. When you start getting into the hot rodded and the JCM 800s and stuff like that, the 80s stuff, again, that kind of high gain is something that's not attractive to me. Again, I like that tone, just like I like the Fender Deluxe. I like the clean tone of that, which is a classic tone. I like the classic tones because there's a good bass to go from there and to do things with. But yeah, let's take a look here. I can do something, guys. I can look here in the chats. Let me see what we have here in the chats. I'm going to put on my reading glasses and see here. What do you make of the guys that just don't gas at all ever? Keep the same bullet strap for 40 years and buy a Gibson acoustic one day or whatever with no stops in between, just in denial. No, I think that guys like that, are pretty awesome. I was that guy for a long time. I would buy one guitar at a time. It got to be just telly after telly, but there was huge gaps of years between there, and that was the only guitar that I played. Now, I went through that period where I had 10, 12, 13 guitars, and now I'm down to 4, including the bass. And I'm comfortable there. I found my comfort spot there. So I admire the guys, because I used to be that. I'm trying to be that guy again. But from a recording standpoint, I have to be honest, having that palette of tones is a good thing to have. Just started playing it after 30 years looking around. I only see 6 guitars, well, more basses at the moment, but only 4 years in. Yeah, give gas time. The bass I'm guessing for has been in pre-order for 2 years, and in August was due for a production run that didn't happen. Oh, wow, okay, I see that now. Used, they're at last year's new price, but in the meantime, it's up 150%. Well, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that sucks, and There was something else that I heard that people had in the pipeline pre-ordered, and they just cut the production on it. It was some amp that they just called because of supply chain issues. They said ultimately, but yeah, that's something. I did order myself a new pedal today, and I was blowing a Tone City Gray Couch pedal. Yeah, 1999. How much do those go for regularly? I'm very curious. The Blues Breaker is great. We read that one. Positive Grid Spark Amp does everything, including being a recording interface guitar. Yeah, like I said, all the way around. But it's going to have its limitations too. So if you get a chance to try it out first, or at least have a good return policy, I would do that. You never know, man. Like I said, everybody's rig is different. As we talked about that, music, tone, style, CWB, people mistake gain for volume, like gain rules, and JTM has bags of gains if you need it. Oh, normally $44.90. $44.90 down. Wow, that's a great deal. Yeah, Mickey, you're correct about gain there. People do mistake loudness for gain, and those are two totally different things. I always point out the fact that Jimmy Page, first of all, he was recording mostly using a 1x12 combo. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they were not using large amounts of gains. They were stacking light gain guitar parts, which is one way to go. Or when you start getting into ELO and bands like that could do a lot more, they were using light gain parts, left and right spread just to fill out the stereo picture. But they were light gain parts. It's not the same thing at all, and that's something that the JTM 45 is famous for. I mean, just because Jimi Hendrix was playing them loud, it doesn't mean that he had the gain was loud. It's totally two different things. Look into psychoacoustics. I was touching upon that last week and how I can take this pedal board and using my knowledge of psychoacoustics in my DAW to mimic the sound that you would not know the difference between this and a mic'd amp, because I know how to do that, how to manipulate the sound in order to make that happen. So which any good rock and roll record producer would be able to do. Going back to the 60s with Jimmy Page and being a producer and a studio guy, he certainly knew how to do that using light gain, a 1x12 amp, sometimes a 1x10. Yeah, dig that. All right, guys. I think I have jawboned enough for one day, and we actually read through the comments here. I appreciate everybody for showing up as always. What's coming up this week? I'm hoping that I can actually pull off that interview with Barry this week and get that in the can. Barring that, I will be visiting Fern tomorrow, so I will film that. I'll go down to Fern's tomorrow, and I'll film him turning over the Telecaster over to him. At least for the initial work that he's going to do, cutting, because it's going to take a few days for him to cut a new bone nut for that, if it turns out that is truly a synthetic bone nut, not a true bone nut. It's going to take him a minute to strip out the electronics and replace the pots and things like that. So he's going to have it for a week or so. Knowing Fern, to be honest, I won't see that guitar for 2 weeks. And with Mickey's parts coming in the mail, I'll get those to him. He'll still have it. So maybe I'll film that, me taking it down, and see what he has to say. That might be an interesting thing to see what he thinks about the build quality of that. He always has interesting things. Hey, isn't this great, Fern? Kind of, sort of, no. he'll take the air out of your bubble real fast. Or sometimes, like I said, he's honest. I love that. He'll say, actually, this is good. When he says, yeah, this is good, you're in the wheelhouse with what you got in front of him. So yeah, maybe we'll do that this week. So you can expect that. Definitely, I'm in. Yeah. That'd be great, man. I appreciate how good it's looking forward to. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. So we'll go down to Ferns. We'll turn that 40th anniversary telecast. We'll film what he thinks about it, what his opinion is of it. Does he think it's a good guitar or not? And what does he think needs to be done as well? So certainly, like I said, we shall see. That is going to be that. So we will do that this week. So you have that to look forward to. Maybe the interview with Barry, one of the two. If that's not this week, it'll be the following week. And then we shall meet here again next Sunday, all things considered, to talk again. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to show up this week and to share your thoughts, as always. I enjoy doing these live streams. It's always a pleasure. What a terrific community of people we have here. It really is the reason why I sit here every week, because it really is special to me. It really is awesome, to know so many awesome cats out there taking the time to watch, to share, and to help out too, and that's just really awesome. So every week you can, God willing, we can continue to do this, folks. It doesn't matter if I have one person watching or 50 or 50,000. The message is always the same. It doesn't change by the number of the audience. So apologies for being late tonight. No, man. I was early, actually. So there's that. I was early. But I appreciate you showing up, brother. And like I said, I will let you know when that comes through. For all the rest of you guys, again, like I said, I appreciate these moments that we share together every Sunday night. Keep yourself safe. Have yourself a good week. And we will talk again. Bye-bye.